Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager, episode 71. Last year, we had the worst time when it came to regulation vote changes. We lost all of them, and the changes were horrendous. They were so bad. Really, really not happy with the direction the sport went from last season to this season. The points in particular, just a nightmare. What's it going to be for this year? Our first regulation change of the year. This one is usually related to what sort of car changes, and so far it's always been minor, with 30% of something and 10% of something. What do we have for the new year? Chassis or side pod focus changes. As we know, we may change regulations, define Formula One's rules between seasons, make the sport fairer for competitors and more engaging for fans. With these goals in mind, we are proposing new minor technical regulations and focused either on chassis or side pods. So let's see, what is that difference? In one case, it's the chassis at 30% airflow and drag reduction, or it's the side pods at 10% reduction, or it's the opposite, with the side pods getting a 30% reduction and the chassis getting a 10% reduction. Now, the good thing for us, we lag behind in this department, both departments. So others are going to feel this regulation change more so than us, and where we have some stronger parts aren't going to feel it, because what I'm getting of this season so far is that we are not going to be competing for a championship this year. Like, we are just inching our way into even just barely having a competitive car right now. I mean, upper midfield competitive kind of car right now. This has not been a good start to our year for sure. Our upgrade plan last year failed miserably, and we are paying the price right now this season. We are catching up. We are making up ground. Things are getting better, but yeah, switching to, trying to fix these up last year just did not go well, and now others are going to be backed up towards us a little bit. I don't really care which one. It's kind of the same thing either way. They're in about the same condition for us. I suppose we'll do the chassis focus changes. We've got a new rear wing design, and this has been that one strong point of this year, has been we've got these upgrades rolling out one after another. Trying to make the best of it. I know we've made up a lot of ground, but we've got to keep going. Speaking of suspension, trying to build a new one. We don't have any tunnel time, so there's no bonuses for this one, but we got to keep these rolling out to just make the marginal gain over and over again repeatedly. But anyway, if I do anything less than extra, it seems to be kind of hurting what we have. That's 40 days if we do everything. You can see individually each one would actually be worse if you do them individually. If we do everything, we're kind of looking at the same set of gains and saving 15 days. So I'm actually kind of thinking maybe we just need to take it neutrally. The gain to really add the focus not only adds cost, but it doesn't help much. As it's only going to take a little over 2 weeks, we're going to go ahead and go intense with this one. Spend that extra 400,000 to make future versions better. Because, no matter what we're doing outside of the brake cooling part, this part, it's the worst on the grid. So we need to make large gains, and it's so hard to find large gains. So we're trying the intense approach this year. I've never done it before. A day later, we also have a new front wing. So we're going to have rear wing and front wing for upcoming race. Let's hope that, we're finally there. The car was almost there last time, and then we ended up outside of the top 10. But that was one mistake that cost both drivers. Otherwise, we were looking at really high finishes for both guys, or at least one of them. And yeah, that mistake was super costly. Let's hope that without mistakes and with new front and rear wings and that new underfloor, maybe, just maybe, the car is going to be pushing back towards that top 2 or 3. Well, I've never seen this before. The chassis that we just designed, even though it's only 17th, 5th, and 11th in terms of its spot on the grid, if we were to do a new one, neutral, the part would be worse than it was before. Yeah. Right now we could only produce a lesser version of the chassis than what we already have. And turning it up makes no difference on that. I mean, you can get one part to turn up, but you can't improve the chassis overall. You can make gains while some sort of trade-off. As you see, we would be worse than the other car. Small drop, you know, and slight gains, but definitely not what we're looking to do right now. It looks like in order to make a better chassis, the only way is we're going to have to use some wind tunnel time, which we don't have at the moment. So we're going to have to hold off on another upgrade. New dilemma, and certainly not a good dilemma to have. No wonder we're struggling. The suspension and car part test center have both dropped off into poor condition. So the bonuses have gotten weaker, and therefore, without contributing additional resources in some other manner, that drop off is or would make the part worse. Here is the vote. Changes passed. So chassis focused changes are what has been voted in favor of, with 6 teams voting for, and we were one of them. Kind of picked that at random. Chassis might actually be a little bit better off than our side pods are at this stage, but it's really not a big deal, as we're really, quite poor in both areas. Only doing a quick grid comparison. What are we compared to average with all these new upgrades? And they are all on the car currently. Top speed has now eclipsed grid average, but barely. Acceleration has matched it. So we've reached average when it came to speed. But we are definitely cornering better than average, both low, medium, and high speed, all having an advantage over what is considered average. Same with top speed in DRS. Dirty gear cornering has pretty healthy advantages as well. We are still below grid average when it comes to cooling, but we're very close to grid average now. I mean, we're barely a 1/10 of a point behind in the brake cooling, 1/10 of a point of a percent, and in the engine cooling it's barely 1%. So 1.11 to be exact. That should start getting us performing a little bit better, at least for the short term. Got to keep upgrades coming, and at the moment we are lacking in upgrades, so we're going to need to get some refurbishment or upgrades to those 2 part centers to really start seeing some improvement in the car, at least for the few car parts that those factories. It's going to be tight, but instead of refurbishment, we're going to go ahead and make the suspension simulator upgrade as well, because we're not going to be able to touch the suspension simulator either. Last season at Imola, we were 2nd and 4th with the Red Bulls in 1st and 3rd ahead of us. Can we do something similar? I mean, Albon barely lost to Verstappen. He got up beside him in a drag race to the finish line and just missed overtaking him. And then meanwhile, Perez was in no man's land in between, and Porsche had a pretty healthy advantage over the chasers. If we could do something like that in this race, it would go a long ways towards moving us up the grid order, which we need, as we are struggling in 4th.
The hills of Tuscany are green to the south, but here in Imola the air is red hot. Welcome to Ferrari's turf for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. The track has been around since the 60s, but the first official Formula One race was held here in 1980. Let's see what excitement lies ahead this year. This is Imola, and it's an old school track with plenty of elevation changes and lots of corners. There's only one DRS zone here, but it follows the long straight right before Tamburello and should see plenty of action. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Formula One.
Through practice, qualifying, and races, the first 4 races of the year, we had the same components. For practice here for the 5th race of the year, we had the same components. But as we go to enter qualifying, we're finally going to switch to our second set and get fresh and everything, even in ERS as well, as we'll use that first ERS for other purposes the rest of the year. I don't mind taking the occasional penalty here and there this year to try to keep the car closer to optimal. Just out for our banker lap, and we just get past a couple cars in time to go get a nice clean lap in. And so far, we're ahead of Verstappen even. That's a good first lap.
Looks like there's been a lockout.
Leclerc 1 millisecond ahead of Verstappen, but we have a 1-2. Yes, we do, folks. This is a first. We're going to go out on that same set. Fact, you know what? We're going to sit back and hope that the field doesn't gain 0.8 of a second. We got last two guys down here putting in pretty solid times, and we're looking at 0.6 for Guan Yu Zhou, Stroll. They're going to get faster. They're going to get faster, but not by more than half a second for sure. We're saving the tires. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that we've made the right call. Somebody made a mistake. That's already going to help.
That
Perez
sounds like someone's gone wide there.
That's Stroll running wide. Ocon's gone ahead of us, but we are well ahead of minimum 5 cars. So into Q2, and we had the fastest time in that first run. Folks, we might actually make Q3. We've never been on the front row, have we? I think we've had a row 2 with wet condition, dry condition, 4 cars got a decent lap, and we had the 3rd and 4th fastest. I don't think we've ever had anything more than like 5th place totally dry running. Verstappen, another penalty, his 2nd already of the year. Going out on that once used set to start Q2, I'm confident that we can put in pretty good times. Now, I'm not confident that this lap is going to be a very good time, so let's hope we don't screw up our one chance on the last run with the fresh set. But already, we're still ahead of Verstappen, we're still ahead of Ocon, and that's a new set. So, well done to these guys. Now we'll use the fresh set for the next one. Or will we? I mean, will we need to? I would imagine we probably will. But 1 and 2 on used tires? So you better believe I'm thinking about staying in again and not going out. Leclerc does go faster, barely. No, we can't. 0.2. It's a quarter of a second to Ricardo. So no, we have got to get out there for the last run. But isn't that something? You set 2nd and 3rd. And away we go. Porsche. Back 3rd. Just behind halfway. Doing. Last one going out. Under a minute. I think he's okay. Oh yeah, he's fine. Almost 30 seconds to spare. Porsche. Seems to be closing up on Albon pretty quick. Former teammate. 2nd fastest for Porsche. Doing 308 is where he was, where we need to be. We didn't need to go out. Doing improves, but stays 5th. There's a couple seconds behind Gasly. But look, 2nd and 5th. We are right there in the mix, in the hunt for a possible front row. Plus 2 guys in the top 10 carrying penalties. Verstappen's may not be about new parts. He did in FP2 wipe out Latifi and took them both out. So he might have gotten his penalty from that accident. Q3, our normal run. We are using the used set. Norris might have gotten in the way of Porsche there. And it looks like he did, because Porsche has been slightly faster than doing on every run until that one. I think it was less than 1/10 of a second, but it was still wrong place, wrong time, small impact. But that was the used set. So we will be okay. We'll have 1 new fresh set for the race. And even from that run, we are 3rd and 4th. One minute. Yeah, we're okay. 50 seconds. Okay, doing. We'll ride with doing for this one from P3, row 2, 3 milliseconds off of a front row, and just 1/10 behind Verstappen. We very much have the kind of pace be competitive this race. We can still got 20 seconds left, so Pourchaire and Doohan both totally fine for their lap. But we're all out there. And are we seeing any faster times? Everybody else is doing the normal thing, not improving their times. Pourchaire and Doohan are. Zhou, Perez, Gasly, Norris are. The front two are not. Good run so far here from Doohan's perspective. Yellow in Sector 2 though. Yellow in Sector 2 for Pourchaire as well. Is the track conditions worsening because of this cloud cover that we're seeing? Verstappen and Leclerc neither improve. Russell up to P6. Gasly jumps to P2. Holy cow, was he faster. Come on. Come on. Let's go, Doohan. Let's go, Doohan. Not a front row, but it is row 2 for him. And Pourchaire, last one. Can he get it up? No, he'll be beside his teammate. Row 2. A row 2 lockout. But a row 2 lockout in the dry. Gasly, though. What a phenomenal time from him. And Verstappen's carrying a penalty, so actually Jack Doohan should get bumped up to the front row. So damn close. So close. Do the math here, folks. Do the math. Gasly was slower than Doohan. Gasly was slower than Doohan, yet Gasly's going to start ahead of him. And we're talking about 3 milliseconds between second and fourth. And then a penalty for Verstappen. We should be starting first and third for the upcoming race. We'll get second and third, though, I suppose. That's fine. We've got some pace. We have some pace. This is the best qualifying we've had.
Here we are, folks. We're back for another day of scintillating F1 action. It's race day.
Williams made short work of the qualifying session here and have been rewarded with strong grid positions to start the race. We saw a solid qualifying performance from Ferrari, and they're sure to have their chance to push even further during the race. The weather is very overcast here, and teams are staring at the sky watching for the first sign of rain. Strategies might have to be quite flexible going into today's race.
Meanwhile, in the grandstands, the red wave is swelling. So let's find out who wins the day here at Imola.
Starting from second and third, we don't have to be aggressive to go forward. We already have grid position. So therefore, we want good, strong early pace and hopefully see gaps open behind. And then we want good pace when we start our long stint on the hards to make sure we recover good track position once everybody else pits. And then we want to cruise to the finish, hopefully holding on to a podium or better. And with the kind of pace we have, I think that is possible. Under fueling by a lap, I actually ran some tests during practice in this session, comparing different pace of the two drivers lap by lap by lap with different fuel amounts. And it seems that the gap, the difference of 1 lap worth of fuel, at least on this track, is 0.05 seconds per lap. So 0.05. It's not a lot. It's not even a tenth of a second. But add that up. Add that up. Over 20 laps, that's a second going in the right direction just because of the fuel load. So it does make sense. And if it makes it easier to stay in DRS, if it makes it easier to make overtakes, if it just generally helps your pace, and you do so without having to turn the engine up and push harder, which creates more strain, more wear and tear on the engine. It's easier to have to lift and coast a small amount than it is to have to push a lot to have the pace you need. So in the long term, it's incredibly effective in most race situations to underfuel at least a little bit, if not more.
It's a bit of a cloudy day for the race, but the atmosphere as ever is electric. Here's Williams. They're in second place on the grid, but that could so easily change in the first few seconds of the race. And looking at the second Williams car, they're up in third position, tantalizingly close to pole. And we're just moments away now. The crowd are on their feet in anticipation of this, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
And we're racing. Now, I need to settle in quickly and keep things moving along. Actually, going to see a movie tonight. And called Otto, the Tom Hanks movie. Just came out. Been out for a little bit now, but
Good job.
it's been a busy couple of weeks. All right. Well, we have the race lead. We've gotten out ahead of Gasly, and that is Jack Doohan, who is on top. With nowhere forward to go, there's no reason to do anything besides make your long run. We're looking at tires holding up decently well to lap 26, but we have pace. We want to set that pace, and we'd also love to see a cushion. So if Pourchaire could get around Gasly, that's beautiful. If we have enough pace, I'd like to see us open up some gaps over cars behind, even if it's not the front group necessarily. So we, with Pourchaire, we'll continue on a little bit longer and see if we can't get up to P2 and ahead of Gasly. I think they would have increased the odds of lap 1 incidents as Pourchaire goes up the inside and around Gasly into P2. And there you go. Let's now settle in.
And there's an overtake.
Oh gosh, he's got some momentum. He's already up beside his teammate. Now settles in. All right, let's speed things up. We are out front, and Leclerc is 1.3 behind Verstappen.
DRS enabled.
Taking about 5 laps to do that. You're looking at, what, 12 times you're going to gain, and you got to gain 1.4, 1.5 the rest of the way. So not quite covering it off, but just about. We'll see what it's like when we're on the hards, though. Sometimes the hards are a little bit easier because the pace is a little bit further off. And we are exchanging fastest laps. Doohan staying out ahead.
That's a stopping lap.
Yeah, look at that. Setting the fastest lap without DRS. Setting the fastest lap without DRS. Verstappen seems to be the only one who can quite handle our pace. And, you know, it's 2.5 seconds. It's 2.5 seconds. We're opening gaps behind. 5 seconds to Schumacher. He must have made a mistake of some kind. But yeah, we're pulling away. We're not only out front, but we are pulling away. Now, Gasly and Verstappen are still right there and could get around us. DRS, of course, is their friend. But our pace is Leclerc's enemy and Ocon's enemy. And already 5 cars have pit. Going for an alternate strategy. That's got to be a 2-stopper that those guys are on. That's not good. We're cruising on the 1-stopper and pulling away from them. They've got a whole extra pit stop and, you know, are now well over half a lap behind. No change in the front 4 either. Zhou, 1.8 behind. Now 2.3. So I think maybe he got DRS and kind of flew past and got a little closer. Norris with a lockup. Gasly, but that's okay. That's okay. Pit window is entered. We're starting to battle each other. Not what I want. Lap 23 already. So once we fell below 60%, they have made gains. And that is, of course, Leclerc on the hards. We dropped below 60% and his pace became better. So Leclerc looking really, really good for later. Because he'll be on the mediums. But his pace advantage now is going to fade. And we're going to be on the brand new hards here fairly soon. And then we will be ultimately faster. So we're going to gain quite a bit of ground and pull away from where Leclerc eventually will be. 8 seconds to Zhou. And we are 32 seconds to those guys behind. So we will pit and come out well ahead of them. Front 14 have not pit. 15th on down all have. So we do not need to worry about those guys pitting early and coming out ahead of us. And those behind are pitting. Gasly, Verstappen, and Bottas, which means we don't want to let them get away from us. In fact, they could potentially undercut us here. Leclerc still behind him. And a few other cars have yet to pit as well. Leclerc's going to stay out longer. Oh, Leclerc's on the hards, right. Doing 2.733, a little bit better than Porsche. Ooh, side by side with our teammate and tuck in just behind him and in front of Verstappen. All right, easy, 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 buddy, easy. All right, nice big full batteries. Fuel not in a bad state at all, and we are still in front of Verstappen. Now we're 22 seconds behind Leclerc, so we'll want to keep an eye on that one. Perez, Russell, Magnussen have all stayed out as well. Of course, those are the guys that are going hard to medium. Leclerc, the only threat of those. Gasly, 7 seconds back. Boy, Gasly has really dropped the ball. So we might be 5th and 6th as Doohan goes around Porsche. But even though we are 5th and 6th on track, we are in a virtual P1 standing. And gap to Leclerc is shrinking, as you would expect. Now, those guys in between are definitely not a threat. So it's Leclerc, it's Verstappen, and it's maybe Bottas. Bottas 6 seconds behind, big lockup.
Let's take a closer look. Now we
Doohan
see the Williams here.
shooting himself in the foot. No damage. He'll get back going. He'll get back going. Okay, now it's Porsche's race. And Doohan has some adversity to overcome, as he's now just ahead of Bottas. Oh my gosh, he just locked up again and slammed into the wall a lap later. Doohan. Man.
Oh, and that's a crash.
Not moving. Not moving. Did he just crash out of this
Let's
thing?
take a look at the replay. Now we see the Williams here.
2
And they've gone
lockups
wide,
in
very wide.
just
That's
under a
not
lap.
ideal. Not ideal at all.
We'll see what sort of pace he has if he can score points today. But man, oh man, our rookie driver making the rookie mistakes. 2 races in a row. At least he did not cost Porsche this time. And Porsche is the new virtual race leader as we head down pit road. 7.61 for the stop. 7.641, that is. It's a quick stop, but it's an extra stop. Now, there's guys on 2-stop strategies. He is going to be faster than them. He's also going to be faster than the tail end on 1-stoppers. But how much ground can he make up? And coming back towards Leclerc, so he is gaining ground, so that's good. He has good pace. Verstappen goes around Porsche, but with DRS, I think we'll easily get him. Sector 1,
Red
yellow.
Bull gained a place.
Leclerc still has not pit. Our gap, just 14.5 seconds behind him now. So when he does eventually pit, he's going to be a good 10 seconds back. And here we go, pits. We've got pits. Sainz, Ricciardo, Vettel, Tsunoda, Schumacher. Doohan just set another fastest lap. He's now in 19th, by the way. He's ahead of Schumacher. And we have caught traffic. All right, let's look on board as we do get up beside Verstappen, but can we complete the overtake and can we continue right on towards Magnussen? Doohan, again, another fastest lap. We still cannot pass Verstappen, partially because we are getting blocked by Magnussen as we go through and don't get that idea that you could just go right up beside the next guy. Down the straight, though, really good run there, but again, we seem to be checking up behind Magnussen. Now we're going to get out of that tuck and get up beside him. We've emptied the battery, though. We've emptied the battery, so we don't have the advantage anymore, but we do tuck in, at least. There you go. Engine up, and we instantly get up the inside of Magnussen. This is Perez and Russell. If I can get past these two, we can, drive off into the sunset and win this race.
And there's an overtake from Williams.
Eventually, though, we are going to have to now lift and coast now that we are pushing. Okay, can we get a run here? Still no battery, and we have nothing, even though we are staying on neutral. Perez goes around Russell, but we just tuck in. Now Russell's going to be the one with DRS instead. Sector 3, yellow flag. Doohan's up to 18th and ahead of Latifi, by the way.
Seems to have been a lockup.
Vettel with the lockup. He's at 0.4 kilograms below, so he's getting close to where he needs to be with 21 laps to go. I think he's going to be okay. Seems to be about 5 laps to gain a 10th. It's just going to come down to the tire wear. He shouldn't have a problem holding off Latifi, but can he get up there and actually compete and gain some ground? For now, this is not going terribly well. Oh, again, we tuck in even though we could have followed right on through. We're still going to have to gain at least a couple tenths, and then we got to try to hold off Verstappen, and we didn't get through these guys like we were hoping to, and they both peel off. And we got to go neutral. We have no battery. We're a bit light on fuel. I'm guessing the tires are fine, though. 71%, identical. Leclerc on the softs, Magnussen on the softs, and Doohan stays 18th. Tire wear is a little bit worse than these guys, but not much. We pulled away from Latifi. Latifi looks like he went through a bit of tire to try to keep up with us. But eventually we pull away, and we're 6 seconds behind Tsunoda. Stuck down in P18. He's not going to score any points today. There's no way he's getting back up. The only way he is getting back up is a scenario I really do not want to see, which is the field being bunched up again because of a safety car. We definitely don't want that. Now, Bottas 1.6 back. Gasly is 4 seconds back. And we're all same scenario here. We got held up by that traffic, and it allowed Bottas and Gasly, Norris to all close things down. But we are running free finally. At least it's not us.
Like someone's locked up.
Gasly with the lockup. Okay, well there goes Gasly's race. Doohan catching Vettel. Vettel with the lockup. No wonder we're catching him. 0.5, but we're down to 0.2. 0.3 on the kilograms. So I think we're good enough on the fuel now. Let's go ahead and fill up the battery. And we could do some more fuel saving so we can actually push later on to make sure we get the overtake to win the race. Remember, we were 2nd and 4th a year ago here.
Just gained by Williams.
I think we can get the win, and it was Verstappen who did win, who we couldn't quite beat on the last lap, but I think we can beat him. I think we can absolutely beat him. We've been the fastest car today. Lap 50. 0.6. Go neutral. Close it back down.
Looks like
Bottas 1.1 behind though as we go past. So Bottas racing his way back into this thing. He's got better pace than Verstappen does. I don't think he's got better pace than we have. Now that we're ahead, we're gonna have to go back to neutral. Back to 0. So fuel is good. Doohan re-overtaking Vettel and closing up towards Tsunoda. He didn't lose any ground whatsoever. If he did run wide, he gained an advantage. It's like he cut a corner on some sort of... His hards got him forward, but eventually, after we all pit, we gained way too much ground. So, Doohan, maybe we should have put him on the hards. Not that it would have made much difference. I mean, okay, fine, we'd be ahead of Vettel, and maybe we'd be ahead of Tsunoda. Ooh, 16th. Okay, well, lap 57, and we have traffic. We have one Schumacher ahead of us, I believe, and then Latifi, not much further beyond. We're gonna lap a car? Have we ever done that? Now, Bottas seems to be keeping up and not doing anything special. Leclerc is coming, though. He's only 4 seconds back. But whatever advantage he had is going to be gone here. Lap 60. We could overtake if we wanted to.
Okay, there's a big
Crash. Competitor crash. It's somebody else. We are up the side with Verstappen, but it's yellow flag, so somewhere on the track we're going to have to adhere to the yellow flag rules and not overtake.
There's been a crash. Sounds like a single
Excellent
car.
TV. Okay, we don't want to quite wait till the last lap. We want to give ourselves a little bit of time, so we're going to start at about a lap and a half out. Oh, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway, so here we go. Aggressive. And we're going to have one lap to go. Do it. Still not quite positive on his delta, but should here over these last 2 laps.
The final
Last
lap.
lap.
You're opening your final lap.
Defend. Verstappen coming with everything he's got. Now we're holding him off. Okay, save that fuel for when we need it. Gotta watch for those straights. Okay, Doohan does have that positive delta. He made it. Alright. A double right-hander coming up. I think that's where we were. Oh yeah, we're back to 22. And we're driving away from Verstappen. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Fuel up. Full deploy.
Use the rest.
We'll go full attack coming out of the last turn. No need to for now. He's got this. 1 corner to go. Full attack. To the line.
And go push, go
Poor
push.
Cher. Poor Cher is going to take the checkered flag. He has won the race.
Checkered flag.
Verstappen takes P2. Bottas P3. McLaren is so quick this year. Leclerc P4. Ocon, Norris, Joe, and Gasly wrap up the points. Russell and Magnussen wrap up the top 10. Doohan stays on the lead lap, but my oh my. 43 seconds down. You know, he was a minute 13. That was to Leclerc, of course. Was it a minute 23? I think it was a minute 13. But he was, Porsche was not 20 seconds behind Leclerc. Right? They were only about 14 seconds down. So Doohan, well, Doohan didn't get caught up behind that group, right? So Doohan made up some ground. He was faster. But 2 mistakes from Doohan. This time though,
A wonderful
at least
result
it didn't
here for the Williams driver.
kill his teammates' race. The rookie needs to calm things down. Remember, Porsche started that way. And it wasn't just about ratings.
A very impressive
I think-
showing today for
I
Williams.
think
It's really
There's
wonderful
something
to
about
see all the hard
rookie
work
mistakes.
they've been putting in paying off like this.
That's right.
We
so
got a
they
race
finished
win.
The race
Big 10
weekend in
points.
3rd place in the constructor standings.
Perez stole our fastest lap in the end. That's okay. Disappointed in Doohan's mistake and overall performance as a result, because it could have been a 1-2. Should have been a 1-2. That's okay. 18 points would have been so freaking helpful. But that's okay. 10 points is 10 points. We'll take it. Porsche up to 3rd in the standings. Norris and Verstappen tied on 29, 12 points ahead of us. And in the constructors, we are up a spot into 3rd, picking up 5 points over Ferrari, getting 1 point ahead. And we are 11 behind Red Bull, that extra 8 points. Man, oh man. And, you know, the 8 points for us would have been 2 less for Red Bull. The 8 points for us would have been, what, 1 less for McLaren. So each of them would have scored less, you know, so there's gain and loss. That would have been kind of a 4 to 5 point swing, or 3 to 4 point swing on those 2 teams. Now we could have used, plus, you know, the extra 8 points for us. We'd be sitting on 32. Red Bull would be at 33. McLaren would be at 38. It is what it is. I did opt for the rookies. We wanted to have this journey. We wanted to build with them. The car is getting there. The car is finally starting to get there. And these two drivers have just enough pace about them, but can they avoid the mistakes? So far, Porsche has been pretty solid this season. It's starting to pull a bit ahead of Doohan. We need Doohan to start doing the same sooner rather than later. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.